Hello and welcome back to another Let's Talk About Movies We Own, where I, Stitch 1993, and my wife,
Hi, everyone.
Shelby, will be talking about the over 1,300 movies we own on DVD, Blu-ray, and eventually we'll get to our VHS collection. If this is your first time watching one of these videos, hello, welcome. This is a really simple video where it's just my voice and Shelby's voice talking about movies, and we'll have pictures of the movie poster on screen so you can know what movie that we're talking about as you follow along. Um, I've know that I've gotten hundreds of new subscribers since the last video came out, so welcome. And yeah, we do these at the end of every month. So this video is, while it's being recorded on July 26th, will end up on the last day of July, and then the next video won't come out until the end of August. And if you're wondering what all videos we've done so far, we've talked about our animation movies, our action adventure, drama, Disney, our Criterion collection, our documentary collection. We've done videos on both our holiday and horror/Halloween videos. And we're currently talking about our musical collection. This is actually the last video for the musical collection, and then at the end of this video we'll say what the next genre will be. So we are starting in our S's, and I'm going to let Shelby start us off with the first movie.
So, our first movie today is Showboat, which came out in 1951 and stars Kathryn Grayson, Ava Gardner, and Howard Keel. So, it tells the story of a Mississippi riverboat troupe and follows Magnolia Hawks, which is Kathryn Grayson, and her romance with Howard Keel's Gaylord Ravenel. It's kind of an odd name. Who is kind of a good-for-nothing gambler. To be honest, we only made it about halfway through the movie because the first half is fun and it's entertaining, but then it gets really down after Magnolia and Gaylord get married because he's just not really worth much. He just keeps gambling all their money away, so they start off in this lavish life, and by the time we gave up on the movie, they were living in squalor.
Yeah. That, and a lot of the music is just not memorable. I mean, yeah, there's
That's Old Man River,
Old Man
which
River,
is the big one.
The big one, but then literally that's it. I could not, if another song from this musical played right now, I would not be able to tell you that it was from this one. It's just, it's fine if you're into this era of musicals. You probably won't. And I don't know. It's kind of a real mixed bag here because I do really enjoy this era of musicals, except for this one.
Yeah.
I don't really care for many of the actors that are in there. Like, I've seen Howard Keel in other musicals, and he's just kind of okay, in my opinion. I've never really thought, well, he sings fine, he acts fine, but it always seems like he's like the B version of Clark Gable for me.
That's fair. To be honest, we only have this one because it came in a 4-pack with 3 other musicals, and out of those 3, there's only 2 that I, sought out.
Yeah.
Which was Kiss Me Kate and Annie Get Your Gun.
And all 4 of those musicals had Howard Keel. That was the theme. It was Howard Keel MGM
Musicals.
classic musicals. There. So, yeah.
Can't really recommend this one, but we do technically own it.
Yeah. So, that's why we're talking about it. Alright, so the next one is going to be a classic among classics, Singing in the Rain, coming out in 1952, and starring, of course, Gene Kelly and Debbie Reynolds, as well as Donald O'Connor for Cosmo's character, but Gene Kelly is, of course, the main character, and it's freaking Debbie Reynolds. So, yeah, if you've never heard of this musical, never seen it, stop this video, go and watch it. It's probably on multiple streaming services, plus you can find it on DVD still to this day for pretty cheap there, because it's been released numerous times over the years on VHS, DVD, Blu-ray. So, yeah, if you come back, hello, welcome back. So this story is about Gene Kelly and Donald O'Connor and Debbie Reynolds later on. But Gene Kelly is a big famous silent movie actor. And this is at the turn of movies becoming talkies. And so, of course, I think it's called The Jazz Singer comes out, and all of a sudden the big fad, or quote fad, is talkies. So every studio is trying to get on board of making talkies, including the studio Gene's working at, who's he's acting. So the movie that was originally going to be a silent film is now going to be a talkie, and they show about how they are trying to hire. This is all kind of based off of what they were doing at the time. This is before, you had boom mics, you had lavaliers. They were trying to figure out ways of where to put this giant microphone and hide it from being on screen. So it ends up not really working to a very comedic effect, and they realize that what they should be doing is doing a musical. So, and then they're just making a musical. But throughout all this is them coming up with ideas. Of course, like Gene Kelly and Donald O'Connor, they have to go to speech therapy classes because they know how to act, but they don't really know how to speak well. And of course, this is at the time when everybody was kind of being taught how to do the transatlantic type of voice there that you'll notice from movies of that time, that everybody kind of had a really interesting sounding voice there. It was called the transatlantic voice there, and it was just kind of it was the clearest voice that microphones for the time could pick up. Now we have microphones that can pick up any sort of language and dialogue, so it doesn't really matter. But back then, that was one of the main reasons, was like the microphones were very finicky. So we get all these classic songs, including the titular song, Singing in the Rain. Of course, we also have Make 'Em Laugh, Good Morning, Shelby's favorite, which is
Moses Supposes.
Moses Supposes. And we get large dance numbers, and it's all, of course, in Technicolor. And so it's not only choreographed and sung well, but it's also shot very well, and it's very colorful throughout the entire film there. Debbie Reynolds' character comes in as she is like a dancer at this nightclub type of thing, jumps out of cakes there, but Gene Kelly sees her and is like, hey, I think she would make she sings much better than his co-star sings. So they do this even to this day. They have the regular actor who cannot speak well just kind of mouth the words, and then Debbie's character just kind of ADRs it off screen. By the end of the movie, she does come out in the reveal that it's actually Debbie that's doing the talking and the singing for this female, and she becomes famous. But that's that was a thing back then, and that's a thing today. We still have that to this day, where sometimes if an actor just doesn't sing well, they'll still be the actor, and then it'll be somebody else's voice doing the singing portions of the movie. It is, as I said, it is a classic movie. It's also a jukebox musical, basically, because all these songs are from other MGM movies at the time. All of them, Singing in the Rain, Make 'Em Laugh, they're all from other previous films. But, of course, this movie did so well that everybody just assumes these songs are from this movie instead. Which is fine, because it's some of the other movies that some of these songs are from are just kind of meh. They're Gene Kelly movies, so you still got Gene Kelly, but this is like peak Gene Kelly. And fantastic film. Shelby's thoughts.
Oh, I agree with everything that you said. It's an absolutely wonderful film. Definitely take a chance to watch it. Pretty much everyone knows the actual titular song, Singing in the Rain, and are familiar with that scene because it's been redone, parodied, shown in various, honestly, when I was growing up, various classes.
It's such a classic scene that back when Hollywood Studios Disney World was called MGM Studios Disney World. He had the Great Movie Ride, and it was just a
That
ride
was
that
part of it.
you would ride around, and a bunch of animatronics would recreate scenes. One of the scenes was Gene Kelly leaning on the light post with the umbrella, and there would be rain coming down. That's
how iconic it is.
Iconic it is, yeah.
But everyone's going to find a different favorite scene when they watch this, and there is no wrong answer to what is the best scene in this movie because it's all great.
Yep.
My personal favorite just happens to be Moses Opposes because I love the high energy and the choreography, and it's so much fun and just really sits well with me.
My favorite scene is probably, honestly, the last big kind of dream sequence dance number we get at the end, where it's like Gene Kelly is like going through different sets and stuff, and it's like really, again, really high energy, but so is most of the film, but it's just really colorful, and it's really well choreographed, and it's really cool just because we still, even when movies do like homages to this type of movie, they never really go this big with this type of dance number. Like it's through multiple sets. It's got dozens of people in it there, and it's not a single line of word is spoken. It's just all dance there, and so and it's really, because it's Technicolor, they really use really powerful colors.
As many colors as they could.
Yeah.
Just really stuck it. The closest in modern memory I can think is the planetarium scene in La La Land.
And that's even
still not as big.
Is not as big and is not as colorful at all. Of course, they were going for a different type of look for that film overall. But yeah, La La Land was definitely inspired by Singing in the Rain, as many films since this movie have been. Moving on to Sing Street. This was a very recent movie for us to see. We just watched it, a couple weeks ago?
Yes, it's fantastic.
It is just now, it just also happened to be that it released 10 years ago, almost to the day when we watched it there. So it's just now having its 10th anniversary there. And yeah, so it's directed by John Carney and written by John Carney. And we spoke about one of John Carney's films in the last video, which was Once. So this is not as much of a downer film as that one was. This one is a little bit more lighthearted there, and is about a kid that is told he has to go to a different school because his parents are trying to make ends meet, and so it's cheaper to go to this one Catholic school than I guess the school he was originally going to. And of course he just doesn't fit in, but his brother is introducing him to, this takes place in the 80s, so it's MTV, so he's showing him like Duran Duran music videos and stuff, and that gives him one of the ideas to make up a band and make a music video. He does it because he sees this girl that like lives across the street from the school, and he wants to make good impression. So and the girl thinks she's too cool for school, kind of literally. And so he's just like, hey, she wants to be a model. He's like, have you ever done a music video? She's like, no. He's like, oh, well, I'm making a music video and for my band. And then she's like, we'll be filming it on this place on this date. And so she decides she would come, and then he's got to scramble to create a band. And he just happens to run into a kid that's his dad is in an actual band, or sells
his dad's in a cover band.
Okay, cover band. So he has every instrument that they will ever need and knows how to play every instrument they would have, on top of also knows how to write music. So I'm just well, isn't that lucky? But anyways, he gathers a couple other people by posting a little sign on a corkboard at school saying, hey, want to make a band, come to this place at this time there. And they do end up being an actual cool little band, and the music is great. It is very, very 80s, very inspired by stuff like Duran Duran, David Bowie, just all those kind of he calls Whenever he asks what genre, he says futurist. It's really kind of close to like not techno, but really just new age pop
Yeah.
at the time there. But yeah, of course, family stuff gets worse there. But so he really dives into making music and stuff because he can like put all his anger and aggression from being bullied, from the Catholic priest being a weirdo, and for his parents and stuff into the music, on top of making friends and just having fun with the band. The they do end up eventually like being able to play at the school and like play a bunch of songs, and it's great. It's fun. It's a little bit of dream sequency at the end there, but I love it. It was a Drive It Like You Stole
Yeah,
It.
it's a Drive It Like You Stole It.
It is probably one of the best songs for that movie, but they're really all really great ones there.
I'm honestly disappointed that Drive It Like You Stole It did not get a nomination for Best Original Song that year.
Yeah.
Because it's fantastic.
Yeah. So, what were your thoughts? Because we saw the movie at the exact same time.
I know. So we bought this one kind of on a whim because we'd heard about it. We'd seen it available on Netflix. We just hadn't watched it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we got rid of Netflix, and it was in the little used movie store that we go into.
Yeah.
So we just, on a whim bought it and then took it home and watched it, a couple weeks later when we finally had time.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole way through, we're both, cheesing the whole way through this movie because it's just so sweet. It's very John Hughesy.
Oh, yes.
It's so John
yes.
Hughesy.
I said, I think both of us said at least once while watching this, this is a John Hughes made a musical.
Yeah, it's so good. And then I also just, really like hearing, Irish accents on top of it. And, everyone's got, a thick Irish accent because it's an Irish film.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so good. I wouldn't say it's better than Once. I do still prefer Once over the two story-wise, but everyone acts their butts off, and it's done really well. You can tell it's got a higher budget.
Yeah.
Definitely check this one out.
This movie, along with You Show Me Once, really turned me on to checking out other John Carney films, which we will get to later on this year with one in another genre. But he's still making he just had a film come out this year, just last month, which was the one with Paul Rudd and one of the Jonas Brothers. That's his film.
And the only reason we didn't go see that one is because it wasn't really showing in a theater near us.
No.
But I'd love to get my hands on that one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The dude is insanely talented,
Yes.
and I will pretty much watch anything he puts out.
Yeah, same here. All right, so going on to,
It's the Sound of Music.
It's the Sound of Music.
You.
I'm trying to think. I want to say not all right. So, not including Disney films, because if I was to say what was the first musical that I was introduced to, technically it would be Pocahontas. But the first actual serious musical, live action musical, would be The Sound of Music. This is the classic Julie Andrews, Christopher Plummer film about the Fräulein Maria as a nun is told, hey, this widowed father of seven kids needs a new nanny. So she decides to do that, ends up falling in love with the guy, they get married, and this is all during the uprising of
the Mustache Man.
Mustache Man, Nazis. So they eventually have to flee the country. It's all lightly based on true story. There was a family, the Von Trapp family singers. They were in Germany during that time and did have to flee. They didn't flee the same way they do in the film, but I have heard them in real life through recordings played on the radio, and they are a really talented family. But yeah, so this is the classic Rodgers and Hammerstein's musical, just like Singing in the Rain. It's one of those classics among classics. It's been riffed and parodied in homage to numerous times since the movie came out. This is, if you think of Julie Andrews, this is probably one of the films that's going to come immediately to your mind when it comes to musicals, the other one being Mary Poppins there. So, yeah, it is very schmaltzy for the first act there. Of course, it does get dark in the second act once the full regime has taken place there. But it does still end on a happy note there. There is, I mean, I pretty much think every song in this musical is a classic, just like Singing in the Rain. Like, there's not just one song that stands out and then all the other ones are forgettable. No, from the very first song, which is How Do You Solve a Problem Like Maria, to the last song, which is Climb Every Mountain, they are all classics that still get used and still get sung to this day. I know you say you don't like it, but that's more because you just watched it.
It was one of the few musicals that was at my grandparents' house, so there was a summer where, I was just on a musical kick and got told to stop watching Rent. So that was available, and then I grew up taking choir in theater classes, so not so much in theater, but in choir it got shown pretty much every year, sometimes multiple times a year if we had a sub and they didn't want to teach anything. And it's just, I understand the merits of it, I understand people love it, I'm just sick of it. It is the Rodgers and Hammerstein musical that I probably like the least, and it's because it's just overplayed.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly think it's a bit overrated.
And you're entitled to your wrong opinion. Next one.
Just saying, there's better Rodgers and Hammerstein shows, and there's better Julie Andrews musicals.
I will admit, there are better Julie Andrews musicals. I do prefer Mary Poppins to this one, but I do enjoy this because I wasn't overexposed to it. Alright, so moving on, we've got South Pacific.
Speaking of better Rodgers and Hammerstein's musicals.
Yeah,
you didn't like this one.
I did not care for this one. To be fair, a lot of Rodgers and Hammerstein's musicals is just about two people falling in love in different situations. So this one is taking place during World War II?
It is during World War II. It's in I believe it's supposed to be Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
It's on one of the islands there, so it centers around an American nurse and a French planter who meet at it's basically like a social group that they end up meeting at when they let the nurses and the soldiers kind of interact and mingle. And they start a relationship there. He doesn't tell her that he has 2 kids with a former wife who was Polynesian. So his kids are mixed race. She's from the U.S., so she's got a touch of the racism. And she's got a touch of the racism. So the majority of her plot is her trying to overcome what she's been taught growing up and getting over her issues so she can actually pursue this relationship with this man and be a mother figure to his kids. Mm. At the same time, you have a Marine who's shown up on the island who ends up going to kind of like the secret island that they're not allowed to go to and ends up falling in love with an islander there and set up by the islander's mother. And the islander's mother is the Asian woman who is on the island at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, she's kind of like, she's not really a witch doctor, but they kind of play it up.
They kind of play it up like that, yeah. So you're following those 2 love stories, and all at the same time, they're trying to recruit the Frenchman to be part of a dangerous mission as like a lookout for the Marine so that they can get a foothold in all those islands to try and turn the tides of the war.
Yeah. My biggest issue is there's not enough songs in it. There's a lot of talking, and I really do not care for military films. I don't really care what era it's from. I just don't. And when I'm thinking Roger and Hammerstein, I'm thinking Cinderella, Sound of Music, stuff like that, where it's every couple scenes there is a song, and they're very memorable songs. I really can only think of the one song where she's talking about washing the dude out of her hair, and that's it. I'm like, I don't remember anywhere else they were singing in this whole movie, and I didn't.
You
I
only got like not even halfway through. You only got 30 minutes into it.
by 30 minutes in the other two, we've already had like 5 songs, so I don't know what the.
They are a little more spread out in this
Yeah.
one. You did turn to me during those 30 minutes and was like, "Wait, is this where Some Enchanted Evening is from?" Because I started playing.
They played
playing
Some
some of it.
Enchanting Evening, which I know more from the Muppet Show, which was, in my opinion, done better on the Muppet Show. Yeah. So it's like, but I'm like, it's just, I could not get into it. I did eventually. We just turned it off.
We turned it off because he really wasn't getting into it and he was rolling his eyes a lot, and I'm sitting over there just cheesing because I love this movie.
Yeah.
There is another version of it which I still want to get with Glenn Close and Henry Connick Jr., and I think you might enjoy that one more.
I don't think I will. Alright. So, moving on
Something completely
to a much
different.
better musical is SpongeBob the Musical live on stage. So, this is a pro shot. And for the people that this is your first video, I'll have Shelby explain what a pro shot is.
A pro shot is where you, over the course of several performances, record a live theatrical performance, some with the audience involved, like in the theater, and some with the audience not involved, so that you can then put it in a theater, like a movie theater, put it on TV, put it on DVD, so that it's now more widely available to the masses. And in theory, and honestly, in actuality, if it's a well done pro shot, it'll end up driving ticket sales for either the Broadway or West End productions, if those are going on, or the national tour, if that's what's going on. And honestly, to me, it is the best way to make sure that theater is not only accessible, but is seen, just honestly more readily available for everyone. It'll get more people interested in it. It'll
because you
tell
don't
these
have to wait
stories better.
for the next tour and pay, between dozens to hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars to get a seat. You can pick this up on Amazon or your local DVD place for like 10, 20 bucks, if that, there. So this is SpongeBob Musical, which I had very low expectations going into. I did know some of the people that were gonna be in the show there, so I was like, okay, but I wasn't really familiar with any of them outside of this musical until later on, which we'll get to in a little bit.
Yeah.
But this is the story of SpongeBob and Patrick on adventure with Sandy and Plankton and everybody else in the cast as they're trying to keep this volcano from exploding and causing the end of Bikini Bottom. It is 100% fantastic from beginning to end. Very colorful, very lively. The actors that play SpongeBob and Patrick and all the other characters really get down not only the voices, but like the little quirks and how they react to stuff perfectly, in my opinion. Of course, the biggest standout star is Ethan Slater, which most people will know from now as Bach from the Wicked films there. But this was kind of our introduction to this guy. Him, along with Roger Bumpus as Squidward, Wesley Taylor as Plankton, and Danny Skinner as Patrick Star, and the numerous other people, as I said, do a fantastic job. All the songs are great. They are very earwormy, very poppy, and they go with different genres. I'll have Shelby kind of explain a little bit later why they're in different genres. But it is fantastic. I believe this was originally on Netflix, but now it's been released on DVD and Blu-ray. So as I said, you can pick this up for cheap. If you're a big SpongeBob fan, I think you have to watch this at least once. There. Your thoughts, and also give the reason as to why all the songs are different genres.
Okay, so this musical is a perfect example of how to take a children's show and adapt it to a stage show that's not those kind of corny and oversized costumes, little kid shows that we get commercials for growing up. they don't talk down to the audience. They treat it basically like it is just a really long episode of SpongeBob, but live action. And it's done really well. And the soundtrack, they got different artists spanning multiple different genres to write the songs and perform the songs. So the soundtrack was, it's kind of in multiple different genres because it was written by and originally performed by artists from multiple different genres. So you had David Bowie, you had the Plain White T's, T.I., Panic at the Disco, Cyndi Lauper, Yolanda Adams, Sarah Bareilles. And Sarah Bareilles is my favorite number in the entire show because it's just adorable. It's just where Patchy comes out with his friends and it's called Poor Pirates.
Yeah.
It's so cute.
And it is the actor Patchy from the show. It's what's his name? Billy. Is it Billy West? Tom Kenny. No. So, Patchy the Pirate. Yeah, Tom Kenny. So, it's the original voice of SpongeBob and also Patchy in all those live-action portions of the original show. Comes on stage and sings the song. And it's a cute little song.
And once you're familiar with who all wrote and like brought up the songs for each portion of the soundtrack, you can go back and then hear how exactly that artist was involved with it. Because it makes total sense that Lady A did Chop to the Top, or that Hero Is My Middle Name is a Cyndi Lauper song, and Super C-Star Savior is Yolanda Adams, because that's your gospel moment. And it's just all done so well. And another kind of standout moment is when the going gets tough, because that is Plankton's song, and how they stage that is hilariously adorable.
I will say the one song that I'm just like, really? He did that? Was No Control by David Bowie?
Yeah. But it's all done so well, and it fits in together so well.
It does.
That, also, Just a Simple Sponge is Panic at the Disco. And it all just works so well. I think this was like my favorite musical of the year that year.
I believe so.
I've watched it so many times. It's so cute.
We've showed it to our niece and nephew, and they enjoyed it. I think you've shown them to our other nephews.
Yes, the older of our two, the younger pair did not care, but the baby was enraptured.
It's very colorful. Very colorful, as the show is. But moving on is A Star Is Born, coming out in 2018, starring Lady Gaga and
Bradley Cooper.
This is, I believe, the fourth remake of this film. I grew up with the 1950s or 1940s version that was not a musical. It then got remade in the 1960s with Judy Garland, and then again in the 1980s with Streisand. So this is the most recent version, which means that another 10 to 20 years we'll get another version of A Star Is Born. It's all the same story. It's about the guy who's usually a famous actor, but in this case he's a famous musician. Comes across a female that is up and coming, and kind of helps her get to the point where she becomes more famous than him, as he's kind of on the downturn. He usually, the male, usually has some sort of either issue with alcoholism or depression, or most of the time it's both there. So he really doesn't tell anybody or gets any help. He just ends up ending his life by the third act there, which, it does end on a, not even a bittersweet, it's just it ends, it's a tragedy.
It is a tragic story. It's sad every time.
Yeah.
The soundtrack to this, though.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. I've listened to the soundtrack so many
I remember
times.
We checked it out because I was excited, because it's the newest version of Star Is Born, and I do enjoy that story. And you were hesitant because you're not the biggest fan of Lady Gaga.
I'm not a huge fan of her, I'm not a huge fan of, her music, but I don't have, a issue with, her as a person. I think she as a person is, really cool. But then this kind of turned the tide a little bit to where I started appreciating her stuff more from like that point on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still not a fan of like her earlier stuff, but I do enjoy.
You enjoy
more,
when she's
more
doing more
now.
classical type of.
I do, because
stuff.
she's got an amazing voice. I'm just not a big fan of like her early
pop
stuff.
Yeah.
And she did so well in this movie. Like, her acting was actually really good, and her playing off of Bradley Cooper was done well. And by the end of the movie, I was a puddle of tears. It was. So, this is another one. Definitely watch it if you are old enough to handle the material.
Yeah.
I would not show this to like children.
Mm-mm.
But this is definitely, the story is a classic and keeps getting remade for a reason. It is really well done, and I honestly think each version just keeps getting better.
Oh, absolutely. And it makes sense to basically turn it into a musical, because all the previous iterations was, it did have music in there, but they were always trying to be an actor. Even from the very beginning, they were trying to be an actor there. So making more sense that he's, instead of a famous actor, he is a famous musician, and she also wanted to be a famous musician or singer, songwriter. It makes a lot more sense for the story in general.
And Bradley Cooper is all over this, not just because he's one of the leads, but he directed it and he helped write it.
He also helped produce it.
This is like his passion project, and he did an amazing job at it. Normally when someone who's never done a musical, acting or directing, says, hey, my next project is going to be a musical, I usually get a little apprehensive, because half the time it doesn't work out.
Right.
It's either lackluster or they try to go too over the top, but this one hit just right. It wasn't too over the top, but it wasn't playing it too safe. The music was really well written. And it's not just Lady Gaga songs. Like, Bradley Cooper actually has a good voice.
He does.
And his songs are almost as good, but that's the point. Hers are supposed to be better.
Yeah.
And I would definitely watch this one, but have tissues.
Yes. Alright, so next is Sunday in the Park with George. I do enjoy this. It's also, this was the Pro Shot version, filmed and released in 1986, starring Mandy Patinkin and Bernadette Peters, with Mandy Patinkin being the famous George, and Bernadette playing Dot. I will say I don't usually enjoy this specific musical creator's work all that much.
It's a Sondheim.
Yeah. This is one I do enjoy. However, it is very cozy, I guess you would call it. Very slow paced. Very just soft songs. So I've never fully seen this all the way through. I tend to fall asleep right before the second act. So from what I've seen, it's good. I've never seen the ending of this thing because I keep falling asleep just because it's a very relaxing musical. So I will let Shelby give her full thoughts, because you have seen this all the way through. I have seen it.
And again, part of the reason why I have seen it all the way through is because I do love Sondheim. I am a Sondheim junkie. That's why we own several different Sondheim musicals. But Sunday in the Park with George is a fictionalized for Act 1 is a fictionalized story about the time period in which Mandy Patinkin's George Seurat is actually painting the famous painting that is featured in this, which is A Sunday Afternoon on the Island of Le Grand Jatte. It's in French. I don't know French. And throughout this, it's every Sunday he goes to the park and starts painting the backgrounds and everything, and then he starts putting in the people that are around in as well, and he eventually gets everyone together so that he can actually paint them into the portrait, while also carrying on this relationship with Dot. She wants him to, not be so just zeroed in and focused on his painting, and she wants him to actually spend time with her, but he can't commit to that because he is hyper-focused on his work. So she ends up leaving him, doesn't know at the time that she's pregnant, finds out that she's pregnant, and marries a baker and leaves. I believe she comes to the U.S. And that's all in Act 1. And then Act 2 is just Mandy Patinkin shows up again as another character, also named George, who is the original George's like great-grandson, because now Bernadette Peters is playing her original character's own daughter, and that is the Mandy Patinkin's new character's grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
And he's now having to come to terms with the life his grandmother led, his ability also as an artist, because he's a sculptor.
Sculptor.
Yeah, sculptor. And with the legacy of his great-grandfather. So it is mostly about family drama, but it's also very chill, very cozy. The music for this, it is very Sondheim, but it's like soft Sondheim.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, as big and crazy and loud as Sweeney. I would say it's kind of closer in terms of musicality to Merrily Roll Along, where a lot of them are a lot softer, a lot chiller. So especially if you did enjoy Merrily We Roll Along, I would check this one out as well, because it is similar in terms of dynamics.
But I don't want to beat all the characters up.
Yes. It helps that it's more of a period piece for the first act than, just trying to move through these characters' lives. So I would say definitely give this one a chance. Mandy Patinkin is fantastic. I did not know that man could sing until I saw this, so have fun with it.
Yep.
Speaking of Sweeney Todd.
Yeah. And speaking of Sondheim, so this is the 1982 pro shot of Sweeney Todd, starring Angela Lansbury and
George
Hearn as the titular Sweeney Todd, and Angela Lansbury as Miss Lovett. Alright, I'm going to say I never knew of this story, of this musical, until the Tim Burton Johnny Depp movie came out.
Which a lot of people didn't.
Yeah,
we can forget that.
Yeah, that was kind of probably a lot of millennials and in general, people in general's introduction to this musical. And for the longest time, I thought, that musical was great. Now, after you watch this version, that movie is shit. This is 100,000 times better than that Tim Burton pile of dump.
The Tim Burton one cuts out so many interesting plot points and cuts out so many important songs to get you from point A to point B. Like, the reason why Joanna and Anthony work in the stage production is because they don't cut out the scenes in which Joanna is actually falling in love.
Yeah. And they just cut out a lot of stuff for that movie, and it kills all the characters' dimensions and stuff there. So they're all almost on one note kind of thing in that movie, whereas opposed to the original musical and this pro shot there's a lot more complications for a lot of the characters there. But it is still the same story. It is still all the same. It's actually more music because it's the pro shot, so it's all the music. And it is one of my favorites, which is weird because I don't really like Sondheim, but this just happened. It's kind of probably helps that it is a horror musical, and I am a horror fan just in general. And also probably helps that it has Angela Lansbury, which, if that name sounds familiar, but you just can't pick it, you would either probably know her as Mrs. Potts from Beauty and the Beast, or the main character for Murder, She Wrote. She's been in hundreds of things between all that, but that is the two that most people would equate to her as an actress.
Yes.
And she's been around. She's been acting for decades. Like, the earliest thing I can think of is the Danny Kaye movie, that I believe it's called The Jester, where she's the princess. And the first time I watched that, I was like, holy crap, she is young. She was like 16 or 17. This was back in like the 40s or 50s there. So yeah, she's been acting her butt off, and she's got a wonderful voice. And she also, because this is a dark comedy, she has great comedic
Oh my
timing in
goodness,
this
yes.
between her and George Hearn. George Hearn, oh my goodness, probably the best version of Sweeney Todd. I have seen other pro shots before, since then, and like the all can't stand a candle to this guy here. So yeah, and you introduced this to me. So and you were in a high school version of this
Yes,
play.
I was.
So go on.
All right, so this particular musical will always have a special place for me. Not only because I just love the pro shot; it's done so amazingly well, and George Hearn is legitimately terrifying as Sweeney. Like watching Johnny Depp as Sweeney, not once was I ever scared of that man. But George Hearn, like first time I saw him playing Sweeney, yeah, I got chills. It was fantastic. He did amazing, and watching him unravel throughout the course of the entire musical is kind of breathtaking, honestly. And then another reason why this will always be special to me is because this was my first high school production, was Sweeney Todd, and it's an absolute, I wouldn't say joy. It's not a joy of a show to put on because there's a lot of moving parts and there's a lot going on, but it is an absolute thrill of a ride to do this show from start to finish. Especially if you're ensemble, because you get to, like, depending on where they want to place you, you might get to play a lunatic. And it's so much fun. There's so many things that have to work well together all at the same time for this show to work. And you get a deeper appreciation for theater when you do theater. So, like, this will forever be one of my favorite ones, and I do get emotional every time I watch it just because of being able to think back on my experience doing the show and the cast I got to do it with and how, like, awesome they all were, and being able to see it done by professionals. It's just, it's so great, and it's done so well, and I kind of hate Tim Burton for thinking he could do this movie. It's just, especially if you do enjoy a little bit more of, like, it is a little bit more of the psychological, anyone involved in your life could be a serial killer and you not know it kind of situation. So if you like watching those kind of thriller movies, I would definitely check the Pro Shot out. Do not watch that trash movie. Watch the Pro Shot. It's done so well.
And it's very easily available.
Yeah, like, we got this off of Amazon for like a few bucks. It's not even an expensive one because it was just, they made so many copies of it. And this is the show I think of when I think of Sondheim.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Sweeney Todd is the one I go to. Sweeney Todd is my go-to in general, and the songs will get stuck in your head, and there's so many moments that if all you know is the movie, you're missing out on. So check out the actual stage show.
Yep. Moving on to another one that you really enjoy.
Oh my goodness.
This is 2021's Tick Tick Boom. That was a Netflix exclusive. Now, you're probably wondering, hold up, this movie never officially came out on DVD. That is where you would be wrong, because this went up for Oscar nominations, which meant that every person that is one of the people that votes on the Oscars is provided with, at least at the time, I'm not sure if it's changed now, with physical copies of every movie that they have to watch in order to vote on, including Tick Tick Boom. And what happens when they're done voting? Either they throw the DVD away, they give it to Goodwill, or they sell it on eBay. And that's where you can find an official copy of Tick Tick Boom on DVD. It is going to come in a little thinner cardboard envelope type of case there, kind of akin to like how the Warner Brothers DVDs used to come in those weird cardboard cases there. But it is an official non-bootleg copy of the movie, and there's hundreds of them available. This is a very easily easy movie to obtain if you want to get a physical copy of it. Moving on to the actual musical itself. I know in the back when we were doing the R's and I talked about Rent, I stated I hated Rent. I hate the characters. I hate the story. I only like a handful of the songs. One being, of course,
Seasons
Seasons of Love. Otherwise, it can go die in a fire. I have the total opposite opinion of Tick Tick Boom. It is amazing. Of course, it is directed by Lin-Manuel Miranda. He did a great job of getting all the songs done well and choreographed. It is starring, of course, Andrew Garfield, who is amazing. It was really interesting seeing him sing because we've never seen him sing before, and he does a fantastic job. And I hope he goes on to do more musicals. It is a story about John, played by Andrew Garfield, who is writing musicals, trying to get his name out there. He's just working through a musical. He is inspired by Sondheim, so they do talk about Sondheim and show. I think they show Sunday in the Park with George in one scene on like when they're watching PBS. There
might have. I'm not 100% sure on that moment.
But Sondheim even makes a cameo later on in the movie. This is like one of his last appearances before he passed away there. And yeah, of course it does end tragically because if you don't know, John, the actual John that was creator of this musical as well as Rent, passed away before Rent opened on its off-Broadway show, so he never was able to see the
show that made him
a household name, as well as seeing this one also take off because of Rent as well. Even though this came out before Rent, it got popular again because of Rent. And so yeah, but all the music is great. The characters are great. Of course, it probably helps that it's based off of actual characters, and I don't know how much of this story is, fantasy versus reality of what actually went on through his life there, but it just, the characters seem a lot more believable than the characters in Rent, and I care about them, even if they are even like the smaller characters like his friend Michael.
Oh
there.
Man! Michael
and Susan. Vanessa Hudgens also shows up for a couple scenes. She's of course fantastic there, but it's fun seeing her and Andrew Garfield play off each other there. And yeah, that's my thoughts. Definitely check this one out, either if you have Netflix or if you find a copy of it out in the wild or on eBay. And of course, I'm gonna let Shelby talk about this because this is also one of your favorites.
I love this. Okay, first of all, I do just enjoy how Jonathan Larson's brain works. Like, I do enjoy Rent. I love Sunday in the the references to Sunday in the Park with George in this one, because there is an entire song that pulls from that specific play to make the song Sunday. And it's okay, that entire scene, I'm freaking out because it's Broadway heavyweights everywhere, and then when they pull out and it's like the majority, if not the entirety, of the original cast of Rent just in front of the diner that Jonathan works at.
I will say for that scene, it helps if you are familiar with people that are in the musical theater background, because you may see one or two characters that you know from movies, like Bernadette Peters shows up.
Bernadette Peters shows up. The Schuyler sisters show up. You get
Hamilton.
From Hamilton. You get like I said, the original cast of Rent, which does include Adam Pascal. And like right at the beginning of the song, when they're getting in and you're starting to see people filter in, like one of the first ones you see is Andre DeShields.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm freaking out because I was in the middle of my Hadestown obsession at that time.
And Lin Miranda also makes a cameo in this.
He's working
scene
in the kitchen.
Yep.
Like that scene itself is like the Easter egg hunt of all Easter egg hunts.
It's the Avengers, a symbol of the musical
theater world, and it's beautiful. Like, I'm crying from excitement during that entire scene, and then, like, 20 minutes later, I'm crying because I'm legitimately depressed watching this movie. In a good way.
Yeah.
Because throughout the entirety of this movie, Jonathan's trying to write the next great musical while dealing with his own issues with the fact that he's about to turn 30 and he doesn't feel like he's accomplished anything, and bills are piling up, and his friend who just started having success in life now finds out that he has AIDS because this is in the middle of the AIDS epidemic. And I'm tearing up just talking about this. Oh my god. And there's so many moments. Like, the first half of the movie is that traditional musical setup where most of it is lighthearted. It's a lot of, like, fun little boppy, earwormy songs, and then, like, hard stop once you hit the middle, and Michael finds out he has AIDS, and it starts to get a lot more serious, and the songs aren't quite as earwormy, but they are so unbelievably beautifully written and beautifully performed. And then you get a little bit of a reprieve because in the second half, with all this craziness and all this heaviness going on, you get a scene where Andrew Garfield and Vanessa Hudgens are imitating a couple getting ready to go to couples therapy.
It's a
hilarious, like, fun little break
song.
And it just gets faster the longer it goes. It's very reminiscent of another Sondheim number in Company, which is Not Getting Married Today. It kind of feels like that, like the aftermath of that.
Yeah.
And you can definitely, like, feel the different inspirations that Jonathan pulled from to write this portion of his life down and give us a look into where he's at. And if I remember correctly, there is a moment when they're showing, like, his workspace, and he's actively writing Rent, which again was just like I know it's not the actual setup that he had, and it's probably not even like the actual sheet music, but it is one of those moments where, if you are a theater fan, if you are a musical fan, it's cool to see, to be able to, like, even see just, like, a recreation of that moment in musical history.
I will say, it kind of, the way you're explaining your feeling of seeing that scene was how this is kind of on a little rabbit trail, but hang on with me, people. So there's a movie that came out in 2023 called Tetris, that was on Apple Plus. It starred Taron Egerton as not the inventor of Tetris, but just basically the guy that finds Tetris and gets it popular here in the United States. There is a scene where he goes to Nintendo to sell this game Tetris to Nintendo and explains, like, hey, you guys need this game on your system because, yeah, you guys do really well, but this game will make you sell millions. And they, like, make him sign an NDA, and then they take him to this one room, and they're just like, we're going to show you this little thing that we've been working on. And they show what would have been, like, somebody from the outside not working on Nintendo, the first showing of the Game Boy. And just knowing the history of the Game Boy and how much of an impact that would have on the gaming world there, and it being, like, turned on. This is, like, it's still got, like, hookups to, like, an actual computer. It's not fully 100% functional, but he's, like, seeing it in person. It just gives you that chill of just, like, yeah, this is, like, seeing, like, the Ark of the Covenant being built kind of thing.
Yeah.
There.
That's very similar.
Yeah. So.
And it's, especially if you are familiar with not just the story of Rent, but the story behind how it took off and how much love went into making it, being able to see even, like, a recreation of it being made is really cool. And it's, like, a really emotional moment, even though it's, like, a little small, like, blink and you'll miss it kind of thing. And it to be in the middle of telling the story of an amazing songwriter and an amazing composer who did not get to live long enough to not only see what he'd already written take off, but to continue writing more. It's definitely somebody who was gone way too soon. emotional. This movie makes me cry just talking about it because it's so well done. It's so beautiful.
And it did get, I mean, it did get nominated for some stuff.
It got cheated. It got cheated.
Got the Oscars there. But it is, thankfully, it did at least get nominated so that we can have it on physical media. They're in, in a semi-official way.
It's probably my favorite movie musical, but just because of how well it's done and how much love and respect was put into it.
Oh yeah, Lynn knocked it out of the park with this one.
It's the best thing that's not Hamilton that he's ever done. Like, Hamilton has his lifeblood through it the whole way through, but he let Jonathan Larson come through and come to life in this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's done so unbelievably well. I'm also just really emotional right now because we saw Hadestown yesterday, and that already put me in an emotional state, and now I'm talking about, like, one of the best things I've ever seen in my life, and following another one of the best things I've ever seen in my life, so emotions are everywhere, so yeah.
Alright, you ready to move on? This is going to be all you for the next
film.
So, you introduce it.
Oh, give me like 2.5.
Okay, I'll introduce it. So this is Thoroughly Modern Millie. It is another Julie Andrews movie. This came out in 1967. I could not get into it because it's taking place in the 1920s. I don't really care about that period of time in any section unless it's talking about the movies and like movies being made. Like, movies from that era I don't mind watching. Like, I love Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, but I like movies about like the Robert Downey Jr. movie Chaplin and stuff like that. But I don't like movies and shows for the most part centered around that era of time, just because I didn't really like a lot of what was happening just in the world at that time in general, and especially what this is about is a lot of the female clothing. This is the flapper area, which is just one of the ugliest eras for clothing, in my opinion, ever. There, and this is Julie Andrews literally getting off like a bus or a train. She's got long curly hair, just a cute dress, and she goes and gets it cut, and she goes and gets into the flapper thing and puts a little corset on, so she's got a flat chest like everybody else, which was interesting. I thought this was going to go in a way like, nowadays that would kind of like be the catapult to, maybe not following, being your own person. And
no, it doesn't.
It does not do that. It does not like, oh no, you don't have to follow with the trends and stuff. You don't have to be trending. No, this is literally doesn't get brought up at all. They just, so I didn't really care for any of the songs either. I didn't really care for any of the characters. Even Julie Andrews, as nice as a person she is, she kind of comes off as annoying in this movie, which is really weird to say about Julie Andrews, because she's practically perfect in every way, but not in this. It also has Mary Tyler Moore, which again I really enjoy everything she's been in. I enjoy her in the Dick Van Dyke Show, the Mary Tyler Moore Show, other movies she's been in. Not this. And then it also has Carol Channing. I'm not really I can give or take on Carol Channing. The only thing I know Carol from is her episode of The Muppet Show, and it's like one of my least favorites because I just don't really like her voice. I know that is kind of what made her was her interesting singing voice. I just don't really care for it, honestly. I'll let you do the story and thoughts, because you did enjoy this movie.
I do enjoy this one. It is very silly. It is definitely a complete opposite of what we just talked about. So the story for this one is Julie Andrews' Millie is out trying to seek a husband. She's She goes and turns herself into a very fashionable young lady. She's living in a cheap hotel that caters to young unmarried women. And her entire goal is to become a single attractive man's secretary so that she can trick him into marrying her, basically. And she does end up becoming the secretary to a single attractive man, but then he ends up falling for her friend and neighbor, which is Mary Tyler Moore's Dorothy, while Millie is falling for what she assumes is a broke paperclip salesman named Jimmy. All the while, the woman who's running the hotel they're staying at is kidnapping or having her goons kidnap orphaned women living in that hotel and trafficking them. Which, that part of the story, definitely icky, definitely gross. Well,
but it's supposed to be.
It's definitely, like, it's supposed to be.
It's not played up for any laughs or anything, for the most part.
The only time that it's kind of played up for laughs is when Millie, Jimmy, and her boss, who is into her neighbor, her friend, figure out that there's something weird going on, and that the manager of the hotel is the one doing it. So they dress Jimmy up as a woman and put him in Dorothy's old room as like a new tenant, and wait for the manager to come in and do something. And then he thinks he's just gonna pretend to be drugged, but then he actually gets drugged. So he ends up getting kidnapped, and now Millie has to go save them both, because while he was busy getting kidnapped, her boss, who was sitting outside with the getaway car so they can follow where Jimmy gets taken to, has been, like, shot in the neck with a dart, and now he's drugged too. So now Millie's having to drive this car with her, like, passed out boss in the passenger seat through the city into Chinatown to go save the guy she's into and her friend, and she can't seem to find him. She decides to try and blend in, so she tries to start smoking and can't really get it down right, and she starts coughing, so to save face, she throws it behind her. When she throws it behind her, it goes into a fireworks factory. Fireworks factory starts going off all the fireworks, and that's, like, right by where all the girls are being kept. So she goes in there and starts rescuing girls and as she's untying them, telling them to go save the next girl, go save the next girl, go save the next girl. And she finally runs into her friend, and then they both end up finding Jimmy. They get everybody out. They finally get over to where Carol Channing is hanging out, because as far as Millie knows, that is just Jimmy's friend that he knows. She's kind of made friends with her. She's a very, like, kind, kooky, rich lady. And they're all hanging out at her house. Everyone's kind of paired up. Carol Channing's Muzzy is, like, doing her hostess thing. And then Millie sees Muzzy and Dorothy going into Jimmy's bedroom and starts getting upset, because previously she had seen Dorothy going into Jimmy's bedroom alone and got upset there too. So she goes in to confront him, and that's when she finds out that Dorothy and Jimmy are siblings and their stepmother is Muzzy. So the whole time she thought this dude was broke, when really he's not. He literally has FU money. So Dorothy ends up with the boss, Millie ends up with Jimmy, and Muzzy ends up with basically 2 new kids. And everyone's happy. So the morals of the story really aren't all that great of morals.
Yeah.
I mean, it does kind of follow the you don't have to change yourself to find love thing, because Dorothy didn't change herself at all and the boss fell for her. Like, she still had her long curls. She was still girly and still simple.
Yeah.
So that part of it did kind of work out, but the marry for love, not for money ends up not really hitting how they want it to, because she still technically ends up marrying for money.
Yeah.
Because the dude she was in love with actually turned out to be rich.
Yep. Don't like it.
It's still funny, it's still goofy, but yeah, you might not enjoy it if you, one, aren't a fan of the flapper era, and 2, want your musicals to kind of hold up their end of the bargain when it comes to a moral.
Yep. The next one I didn't watch because it was taking place around the same time period with the same actress as another Julie Andrews movie. And But Shelby watched this and she said it's very funny, so I'm gonna let her talk about this movie.
The next one is 1982's Victor Victoria, where Julie Andrews Victoria is a struggling operatic soprano who can't seem to find work. Runs into a very flamboyant gay man who is now out of work, and they decide together that it would make sense to disguise her as a man, take her into the clubs in the city, and market her as a woman impersonator. Basically, a drag queen.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And they believe they're going to get rich off of it, and they do. And everything's going well. They're making money. They're having a good time. She's getting to perform. They have a beautiful friendship. And then a businessman from Chicago with some mob ties comes to town and starts to question his sexuality because he at first was convinced that Julie Andrews as a man was actually a woman, which she was. But he's still falling for what he believes is a man, so he's starting to question his sexuality, and he's getting confused, and he's not having a good time with it. And then he gets to find out that it actually is a woman, so then they try to pursue a relationship for a while her still pretending to be a man. So now he's getting confronted because he's seen out in public with what's supposed to be a man. And eventually she has to stop her career in order to be with him. And the dude's bodyguard is also believing that his boss is gay because he's running around with what's supposed to be Victor, which inspires the bodyguard to come out as gay, and he starts a relationship with Toddy, which is Victoria's friend that she's been living with. And they're just kind of an adorable little duo there. So when Victoria decides to hand in her I would say hand in her slacks, because, she's giving up the being a man thing. It ends with Toddy taking her place on stage in her spot, and it's kind of parodying her own performance. And it's really silly, it's really fun. But it is also, for a movie that came out in the early 80s, really kind of progressive and accepting also. Like, the fact that Toddy is gay is never played up for, like, an insult. He's always, like, he's an out and proud gay man, like, the whole way through the movie. It's not an issue. It's a non-issue in the movie. The bodyguard having the confidence to come out because he thinks he's figured out that his boss is also gay. So he feels comfortable coming out, and the boss just being like, okay. And the awkwardness there doesn't come off as he's being awkward because his employee has just come out as gay to him. It's coming out more as I'm not gay, but I can't tell you that kind of situation. And it does, like, end happily. Everyone ends up paired up with who they want to be, and there's, like, these just cute little funny moments all the way through. I would definitely say check this one out. I honestly think you might enjoy this one because it's not so much the flapper era as it is, like, the early 1930s, so it's like think more the longer dresses and not the flapper era.
Yeah.
So I think you might actually enjoy this one. Plus, it also takes place in Paris, so the fashion's a little different too.
Okay.
But yeah, the next one's gonna be all him because I have seen Pink Floyd's The Wall, but I can't remember much of it because it was a little too trippy for me.
Fair enough. Alright, so I'm going to admit I've only seen this film once so far. It is based on the album of the same name, so if you know of Pink Floyd's The Wall, this is basically just a mashup of all the music videos, but strung together to make a semi-coherent movie. I really only got this because I really wanted to watch in its entirety the trial music video portion, which is animated really well. I believe it's animated by Ralph Bakshi, who, if you're not familiar with his work, it's like I think the probably the most thing most people would know him from is either Fritz the Cat, or is it called the? It's gone by a couple of names. I want to say it's like um, the it's like the Pauper and the Princess and the Pauper, or something like that. It's the one where they came out around the same time as Aladdin. They try to say, oh, it's another Aladdin type of film. It's not. Anyways, getting off topic here. So yeah, it's just uh, you know, it's got famous songs in there like The Wall Part One, Part Two. Another Brick in the Wall. There, The Trial, a couple other songs by Pink Floyd. It's really well done. Came out in 1982, so it's very 80s. There, if you're not a fan of Pink Floyd, I don't know if you'll enjoy this. If you've never heard Pink Floyd, maybe check this out because you might get turned on to Pink Floyd's music. Yeah, I don't have a lot much more to say about that one. I really was I just got it for that one scene there. So we can move on. All right, moving on to one that's I have seen it. It's fine. It's okay. I didn't really like the story, but the music's really good. It's called Waitress the Musical. This is another one of Shelby's favorites, so I'm gonna let her talk about it.
Right, so Waitress the Musical is based off of a movie by the same name, Waitress, that came out in the early-ish, mid-2000s, that took off after the tragic death of the writer and one of the stars of the movie. Sarah Bareilles got a hold of it and wrote the music for the stage show, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's so well done. But the story follows Jenna, who's like this little small-town pie baker working in a diner with two of her friends, and following the three of their love lives. So you have Jenna herself, who's in an abusive relationship with her husband.
And played by Sarah Bareilles.
In this. The original Broadway cast was Jessie Mueller, so I would have been fine with either one of them for this. So Jenna finds out that she's pregnant towards the beginning of the show and does not want to still be tied to her abusive husband while bringing this new baby into the world. So she starts putting money aside, hiding money from him so that she can eventually leave him and open her own pie shop. While at the same time, she starts seeing the new gynecologist in town and starts a relationship with him. He is married, and it doesn't seem like he's unhappily married. It seems like their relationship is pretty okay. So the fact that he is entering a relationship with one of his patients is icky. And that part of the story does not really sit well with me. But Jenna herself and her struggle to get out of this abusive relationship and better herself for not only herself but for her child, while also you see that she's still dealing with the grief of losing her own mother earlier in life, is a really beautiful part of the story about, her growth throughout the story. And she does eventually leave not only her husband, but also the doctor. She ends it with him as well. All the while this is going on, one of her friends who works at the diner with her is seeing the diner owner while also being married to someone who can no longer take care of himself. So she's more of a caretaker than a wife at this point, and she can't really leave him without him losing access to his caretaker. So that's a cheating story that I'm a little more sympathetic to, because she is kind of stuck.
It's still cheating, though.
It's still cheating, but it is one that I'm a little more sympathetic to. I'm also sympathetic to Jenna's situation because she is trying to get out of a toxic situation, an abusive marriage. I am not sympathetic to the doctor at all. And then the third friend, her sweet little awkward friend Dawn, entering a new relationship with a really, really sweet guy. And you do enjoy that one.
I even like the song.
You do. And the song he's referencing is Never Getting Rid of Me, which is a really, really sweet, if slightly obsessive song.
But it's done in a cute way, not in a creepy way.
It is. And the whole time that scene's going on, he's cheesing and pointing at himself. Like, Ben is cheesing while watching that scene and pointing at himself like, this is me.
Yep.
So Dawn and her love interest story is the really sweet story of this musical. So that is your feel good. So yes, I would. For the music alone, this one is worth checking out because Sarah Bareilles does such a good job emoting through the songs. Not only, the words that she wrote, but her actual performance of Jenna. So I would definitely give this one a check out, especially if you enjoy Sarah Bareilles' actual, like her albums that she's put out. I think you'll actually enjoy this. But if you have a lot of trauma involving cheating, maybe don't check this one out.
Yeah. All right. Next is another classical musical. This is the 1961 version of West Side Story.
It's the only version of West Side Story I'll ever own.
Yeah. And it's if you don't know, have never heard of West Side Story, it's basically a musical version of Romeo and Juliet taking place in the 1950s. Between two gangs, instead of two households. And it plays out exactly like Romeo and Juliet. It to a T, just with music and gangs. And it's got some of the most memorable songs from beginning to end there, and also the main female lead in this is
Natalie Wood.
Natalie Wood, probably one of, if not the most memorable role she's been in, ever, because she has passed away. And yeah, I don't really have any other thoughts. It's just kind of one of those, like, if you like musicals, especially classic musicals, you need to watch this one if you haven't. And if you had, unless it's kind of like the song Sound of Music thing with Shelby, where you just got it showed it to you too much, you probably still enjoy this one. Shelby probably
I
has...
love this one. This is honestly one that didn't really need a remake. The original still holds up, and it holds up really well.
It does.
The one thing that does sit not great with me is that they did darken the Puerto Rican actor's skin tone to create more of a contrast between the white gang's appearance, which that doesn't age well.
No.
But everyone's acting has aged fantastically. They've all done a fantastic job. Nobody really phones it in. The music is all really well done. Natalie Wood does not sing in this.
No.
Someone sings for her. I believe I believe her name is Marnie something.
Yeah.
But even that, even her lip syncing to the songs is still believable. Like, if you didn't know that wasn't her natural singing voice, you wouldn't actually catch on.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely check this one out. I would say pick this one over the newer one because the acting ability is more present in this one for a lot of the cast.
Yeah.
When I say a lot of the cast, I really mean just the one cast member, because in the remake, the male lead did not do a good job, and I am a full-hearted believer that if you're doing a musical, especially a very well-known musical, and your lead one of your main leads cannot pull it off, you have failed at making that musical. This one, everyone pulls it off. Everyone does a fantastic job. Our Tony for this one really gets that emotion through, especially in his big solo, Maria. You can really see the lovesick, boyish look on his face the whole way through that one, which you don't get in the remake at all. So I would definitely, if you had to pick between the two, pick this one. If you have to pick an adaptation of Romeo and Juliet that's not just the classic, like the old movie, like if your choices are this, the West Side Story remake, or the Baz Luhrmann movie, pick this.
Yeah.
It's gonna be the best out of those three. But yeah, definitely a solid movie musical.
Next is a two-parter,
Yes.
Wicked and Wicked for Good. Okay, so I am a diehard Wizard of Oz fan. Like, I grew up with the original book. L. Frank Baum was like one of the first writers I studied, like the history of him. Not a good person. Definitely one of those, you know, kind of dudes like, he did this cool thing, but then everything you learn about him is just, yeah. Uh, but like he's dead now, so it doesn't really matter. And so he made 15 books, with more coming after that. That because he basically was kind of gave the reins. Is just like after like book 3 or so. What all the books that he was writing was like anytime like he would get letters from like kids asking about, can you do a story about this small character from one of the last books? So each book afterwards does still have some Dorothy story in there, but eventually we don't even follow Dorothy, and we just follow other characters in the Land of Oz. There, only the first 3 books have ever been turned into films. Being first one being The Wizard of Oz, and then books 2 and books 3 being Ozma of Oz, and I don't remember the name of the third book, but those two got kind of mushed together into becoming Return to Oz. That came out in the 80s by a Walt Disney Company. Everything after that, there's never been any attempts of any sort of adaptation to them. So, but there have, of course, been fan books and other different adaptations through the years. It's also one of the first books to ever be adapted into a film. Like the book was being adapted into a play pretty much as soon as it got published. Like it took off like that, and it got adapted into plays a year after year. As soon as people figured out how to make moving pictures, how to make movies, Wizard of Oz was one of the first books that they tried to adapt into a film. Of course, it never really got done well until the 1930s MGM film starring Judy Garland. And then there's been attempts, both good and bad, since then. In the 90s, there was a book called Wicked that was basically it is fan fiction of like the history of the Wicked Witch of the West. I hate this book, not so much as fan fiction there, because I'm like, everybody's got their own. They can always make their own thing based off of other people's work. Plus, the Wizard of Oz series in general is in the public domain, so you can do whatever you want with it. This guy that wrote Wicked, it is obvious if you've ever read Wicked that he has never read any of the Wizard of Oz books. He's only basing his information about the Wizard of Oz from the 1930s Judy Garland MGM film. Like all the information and characters and stuff is being based around that, because some of the character, like, this is how that character became this, which is explained in the original book, are changed, and he makes up totally new ways for all these characters, even though he's trying to claim that this is like part of that same universe. It's not. It is pure fan fiction from just somebody that has watched that movie, never seen never read any of the books, or at least never read the first one. Anyways, it got turned into a musical in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And
it took off.
It took off, and it did include the person that made the musical did include a couple more things that tie closer to the book. It still keeps everybody's way that they become who they are according to the Wicked book. But of course, that is what it is, because it's kind of what made the book famous. Anyways, and then John Chu directed this film in 2024. The sequel 2025, making Act 1 into the first movie and Act 2 into the second movie. In the musical itself, of course, the first act is better than the second act. Everybody's kind of stated this even when the musical was being reviewed before the movie even came out, that there needs to be some tweaking on second act there. And I agree. There's just some things I don't like. The book itself could probably be an entire trilogy honestly all on its own because it's a pretty thick book, and it does take place in different times of Elphaba's life there. So they really could have done like a full trilogy of just the book. And I know there's sequels to the book. I am aware of that, but we're just talking about the first book. We're just talking about Wicked. There. So when they said they were going to do, but the musical itself isn't really that long of a musical. It is only about 2.5 hours long, if that, which is about the running time of most modern films. I mean, we just saw The Odyssey just last weekend. That's like a 3 hour long film, and it flies by so fast you don't even really tell. It's we as movie people have gotten used to longer movies. Movies used to be about 90 minutes, averaging, with longer movies being about 2 hours long. Now movies average about 120 minutes, with longer movies being about 3+ hours long. So when they announced that this was going to be a two-parter film, me along with a whole bunch of other people were asking why, because it really didn't need to, honestly. In watching from watching the films, and also how the first one was better financially than the second one, yeah, it tells they really did not need to milk this into two films. Anyways, so I say all this to say the first movie is good, just like the first act. The second movie is bad, just like the second act. They don't fix anything because John Chu was just like, he was like in a damn if you don't, damn if you do situation where he's just like, if I change it so that it's, flows a lot better, people that really like the musical are going to get onto me. And if I keep it the same way that the musical is, people in general are just going to get onto me. But like, don't blame me, blame the musical itself. I'm like, fair enough. But again, you didn't need to make this a two-parter film, because it honestly would have worked better as just one movie. Because there is a lot of fluff in Wicked for Good to make it a 2-hour film.
Yeah.
There, and the add-in songs that you can tell are not from the original musical. And they're also, because there is, although they were technically filming these back to back, there was a gap in between there, because it wasn't like Lord of the Rings where they were filming all three at the same time, or the Harry Potter films where they're filming them in consequence. There was a little bit of a gap because like second movie really hadn't been greenlit yet, so they didn't start production until a lot later, and they did kind of rush it, which you can kind of tell in some scenes there. So everybody's little actual physical form does change because there's a gap between the two movies there, and it is kind of off-putting, but that's, it is what it is there. So yeah, it's overall it's okay. As a fan of Wizard of Oz, it sucks. As a fan of just the music in general, I do enjoy it. I think both the two main actresses of Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande really knocked it out of the park there. I personally didn't mind Jeff Goldblum as the Wizard of Oz there. Michelle Yeoh is really miscasted in this. She cannot sing. I'm sorry. The one song they have her sing is so bad there. Of course, we also have people like Jonathan Bailey as Fiyero, who's great. Ethan Slater coming pretty much right off of SpongeBob, doing great. Peter Dinklage as Dr. Dillman. At first I was like, that's going to be weird. But then they're just like, no, it's actually going to be a goat, and he's just going to be voicing the character. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. He works fine. And Marissa Bode as Nessa Rose is okay. To be fair, Nessa Rose is just kind of a character in the musical and book itself. There, is what is there. I do kind of agree. We probably should have, hired somebody that was, actually paraplegic to be in that role. I'm just saying. But that's neither here nor there because that movie in general just, there's a lot of wrong with that, and that's not just, and that's besides the whole changing everybody's backstory to make it more dark and twisty. And honestly, like the Tin Man's got in the original book, he's got a really dark backstory of how he becomes the Tin Man. The Scarecrow, it's kind of funny, and then the Cowardly Lion, it works itself into the story of him being cowardly, and it's like really nightmare inducing why he's become considered cowardly there. So anyways, I like the first movie. Shelby?
Okay, so I do agree it shouldn't have been in 2 parts. They should have just gone straight through. Honestly, Ethan Slater, Jonathan Bailey, Cynthia Erivo, and Ariana Grande did fantastic.
They did.
And I went in really apprehensive of Ariana Grande and Ethan Slater in their respective roles. I did not think Ariana Grande was going to be able to pull off Glinda, because the only acting I had ever seen her done was on Nickelodeon. I had not seen her be able to do Glinda. And then she absolutely killed it. I mean, I was in stitches the entirety of that first movie watching her. She was fantastic. I had no issues with Cynthia Erivo. I was a little apprehensive on Jonathan Bailey when they announced him because I'd never heard him sing. Then I looked up a video of him singing and all worry went out of my head. I was like, cool. Anthony Bridgerton, go for it. My issue with Jeff Goldblum as the wizard is he played it a little too aloof. Yes, Madame Horrible is the more manipulative one of the two, but the wizard is also supposed to be manipulative and kind of skeezy. And he plays it more of aloof and also being manipulated kind of feel.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my issue with Jeff Goldblum. When we had other actors who have successfully done movie musicals and have played that type of role before, and my mind always goes to Alan Cumming and Annie.
Oh, yeah.
So that was always in the back of my mind who I was envisioning.
Been a very good pick as for this film.
So the fact that I was like diehard, like really wanting it to be like an Alan Cumming type performance, and it never got there.
No, it was just Jeff Goldblum being Jeff Goldblum.
Exactly. Like I didn't feel like I was watching The Wizard. I felt like I was watching Jeff Goldblum pretend to be a wizard.
Fair enough. To be fair, he is pretending to be a wizard. So it honestly, it kind of works out.
So that's where my disappointment in that went, because watching Cynthia Erivo, I didn't feel like I was just watching Cynthia Erivo play Elphaba. I felt like I was watching actual Elphaba.
Fair enough.
Ariana Grande lost herself in Glinda. I fully believed she was Glinda.
Glinda.
Starts off as Glinda, but like halfway through the first movie, she fully adapts Glinda. And like Ethan Slater, I was only familiar with him through SpongeBob, and he really pulled off like the meekness of Bach through that first half, and then the anger. Like he's the best part of March of the Witch Hunter. Like, and that's not even one of the songs that I really enjoy in Act 2, but that was one of my favorite moments in Wicked for Good, was when he's explaining why he's ready to go after Elphaba.
Yeah.
And Jonathan Bailey did fantastic as Fiyero. You really believe his hesitance being stuck between these two women. That he is full on in love with Elphaba, but he also does care about Glinda. And you full on believe that feels like he's kind of stuck in the middle. And his conscience is kind of wavering. So you full on believe his performance, and Peter Dinklage did a great job as Dr. Dillman. Michelle Yeoh as an actress is great.
Mm-hmm.
When she's acting Madame Horrible and not singing Madame Horrible, it is a good performance.
But when she sings,
it absolutely kills it for me. Which is not in a good way. And specifically for Act 2, because if I remember correctly, they did not add any songs for just straight up Wicked. They left Act 1 alone.
Yeah.
But they added in 2 songs for Wicked for Good that glaringly stand out as not fitting in, and one of them not even like referencing back to Wicked, it's straight up referencing back to The Wizard of Oz. And it feels completely out of place. And that's not to say anything against Cynthia Erivo's vocal performance, because vocally, technically, the song is good, but it doesn't fit. And that is always one of my big pet peeves with movie musicals. I have a lot of pet peeves with movie musicals because I'm passionate about them.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
And it's, if you're adapting a stage show and you decide to add in a song or two to try and go for that Best Original Song Oscar, which it didn't even get nominated, neither one of them did, you need to make sure that it feels like it fits in with the rest of the original music. Because if it doesn't, the song's not going to flow. Now, as someone who is a big fan of the stage show,
And the book.
And the book, I honestly think that the movie version of No Good Deed works better. Because when you're doing the stage show, you can't show what Elphaba's singing, versus in the movie you can.
Mm-hmm.
So in the movie you're able to actually see why she's so upset and why No Good Deed is as rough of a song as it is. Whereas in the stage show you just kind of have to go off context clues and just kind of have to like make yourself believe it. You have to force yourself to visualize what she's singing as, or what she's seeing as she's trying to save the Arrow's life. Whereas in the movie you're able to actually see it, and it does make for a stronger scene. My nitpick with Wicked Part 1 is, did we really need to stretch out Defying Gravity that long?
It kept going.
It kept going.
To be fair, they also stretched out Popular a little bit longer than it probably should have as well.
It's different if you're stretching it, continuing to stretch out a comedic moment to get more laughs, versus continuing to stretch out a dramatic moment with more dramatic moment and more dramatic moment, and not giving your audience a second to breathe.
Fair, yeah.
So I can forgive more of stretching out a moment for laughs, because you it's still providing levity and providing some lightness. But continuing to just stretch out a dramatic moment just for the sake of stretching out a dramatic moment does cheapen the ending for me a little of Part 1. And part of that is because we're all familiar with, at this point, how Defying Gravity ends.
It's the biggest song of the entire musical.
And it's a song that gets made, that gets like, not made fun of, but like parody. It's one of the most parodied songs in musical theater at this point.
It's even in Shrek the Musical.
It's even in Shrek the Musical. Like they parodied it in Shrek. So doing that's part of the issue I have with Part 1. On top of the issue with Jeff Goldblum doesn't feel like the wizard. He feels like Jeff Goldblum pretending to be Jeff Goldblum, pretending to be a wizard. And Michelle Yeoh, as an actress, is fantastic, but as Madame Horrible was drastically miscast when we had someone in there who could have, in the cast, who could have done a better Madame Horrible.
Who?
Keela Settle, who was also the bearded lady in Greatest Showman.
Yeah.
And when they announced her in the cast, because we were getting like some of the background characters before they were announcing the big characters, because they were saving those. Because I remember finding out she was going to be in it and thinking, oh, that's our Madame Horrible. That's got to be our Madame Horrible. And then they announced Michelle Yeoh, and I was like, okay, let's see. I started getting a little worried at that point. Jeff Goldblum as a wizard, okay. And, like, they just kept announcing more and more, and I kept getting apprehensive because, you know, there were actors that, I didn't know if they could sing or not, or the only thing I'd seen this dude do was SpongeBob, and then, you find out that it's Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande. I was like, well, I know Cynthia can pull it off. I'm not upset about that. I'm a little apprehensive on Ariana, not vocally, but acting-wise, and then she does fantastic, so if we would have just fixed the wizard and Madame Horrible, some of the other issues with it wouldn't have been so glaring. It would have been a little more passable. I could have forgiven it a little more. Not to say that I don't love these movies. They are great movies, but they are more of a, you just kind of want to, for Act 1, you just want to chill for a little bit and just have kind of like a almost a no-brain day kind of thing, and then you just watch for good because it's the next part. It's the second half of the story, which it's kind of a slog to get through until No Good Deed, and then you're kind of slowing through it again until you get to For Good.
Going right along with the Wizard of Oz motif, The Wiz, 1978, starring Diana Ross, Michael Jackson, Nipsey Russell, Ted Ross, and Mabel King, Theresa Merritt, and
Lena
Richard
Horne
Pryor.
And Richard Pryor.
This is based off of the musical of the same name. It is just a African American retelling of The Wizard of Oz, and honestly does it very well. I love the music. I love this movie. I have some questions on some of the casting choices because like Diana Ross was already in her mid-30s doing this, and so like yeah, I guess it might have been just kind of a slim pickings on cast during the 70s. Plus, I mean, it is Diana Ross. She was kind of like one of the biggest singers at the time. There, Michael Jackson, big. Yeah, he was already big from Jackson 5, and he's, I think he was just starting out his solo career, or is about to. The only person I really didn't care for was Nipsey as Russell because his character just was really annoying, but everybody else I thoroughly enjoyed. I think Richard Pryor as the wizard is like perfect casting in my opinion.
Yeah.
And of course is got all the great songs in there, and they're sung by great singers. It's some of the casting I'm just like, again, it might have just been like that's who they were able to get at the time there. So who knows? I know this has been done as one of those live for TV versions. I do kind of prefer that version. I honestly wouldn't mind to see a full-on remake of this theatrical wise again, because we just have like it's one that it needs it. It is a classic, but there's if you try to introduce this to a younger audience today, they might be apprehensive because of some of the set designs are kind of cheap looking. It's really weird. Sometimes they're like really well done, and other times it does look like it's a stage, and it's not consistent there. I would rather have they gone full on like well done sets, or really, minimal type of look sets there, but it's like a mixture and it looks really weird there. Sometimes they're in the same scene. And it's like, why is this all in 3D, but then we've got these 2D portions of sets? Anyways, but yeah, it is one of my favorite adaptations of the Wizard of Oz story there, and I do enjoy the music to it. It is time for a remake, in my opinion. You just saw this literally a couple hours before we started recording this for the first time.
No, I was doing a rewatch. It's just been forever since I watched it.
So, your thoughts?
So I did a refresh watch right before this because it'd been so long, and I think part of my original opinion is still true. I do still wish we had gotten someone other than Diana Ross, because she just wasn't engaging enough as Dorothy. Like, I still kept, like, wanting to care a little bit more about Dorothy, because at the time I was really only caring about the Scarecrow. But it was Michael Jackson, and Michael Jackson was a fantastic performer. He's a standout. And that just goes to show, Michael Jackson's talent, because his natural ability has always been in singing, but he performed this even through the acting amazingly.
Oh yeah, he was acting and stuff, I think, before and definitely after this, and yeah, he's plus, I mean, when the music videos started happening, he really was able to shine there as well for his acting ability there.
But like, I do really enjoy him in this. I do agree some with the set. Like, I can see where the vision was, but it wasn't executed as well as it could be, like, today.
Yeah.
So I do think it would benefit from a remake. Not a reimagining, just you could do shot for shot remake, but just update the look.
Yeah. It is definitely an 80s film.
Yeah. Because I honestly wouldn't mind if the only things that they updated when they make a remake is they just make it look a little more put together, and you get someone a little more age appropriate for Dorothy.
Yeah.
Like, I know she's supposed to be like a 24-year-old teacher, and you can still keep the 24-year-old teacher aspect of it, but get like a, I don't know if she can sing because I haven't heard her sing, but get like a Quinta Brunson from Abbott Elementary type for Dorothy if you're going for the mid-20s teacher vibe. And just, I would say, put a little more care in how you're staging it.
Yeah.
Not that there wasn't a lot of care and a lot of heart put in it, but it was the amount of care and heart they could put in it for the 80s. There was only so much they could do.
One of my biggest issues with the film is some of the blocking for some of the choreographed scenes. Like, as much as I love Ease On Down the Road, why, oh why, is it filmed from such a faraway distance that they are like little specks on the dang screen? Like, why are we not, like, is freaking Michael Jackson dancing as a scarecrow on the Yellow Brick Road? We definitely should have had that film, not close-ups, but like, and I know Michael Jackson always liked being filmed as a full body when he's dancing so he could show his footwork. That's fine, but like, it didn't mean to be zoomed out. Oh, that is like all the way at the other end of the dang road there. It really needs to be zoomed in, and a couple it is all one shot for the entire scene there. And I know that was kind of a thing that we were doing at the time, fixed camera setups and everything there, but like, there were other movies from around this time that weren't doing that. Or, I mean, you can just go back like 20-30 years to like all the Fred Astaire movies where, again, just as great as a dancer, but they were able to fix the camera in a little bit closer so that you could also see him fully without being all the way zoomed out for scenes whenever he's either dancing alone or dancing with somebody else.
And I can agree. That's why I say that this one would benefit from a remake, just to, like, because so much has changed in film styles and technology and set design that I think it would benefit from it.
Yeah.
Like, even if the performances aren't as strong as the performances in the movie, I think just the updated costuming, the updated set design, the updated techniques would benefit the story.
Yeah, I agree. Alright, next is Wonka. So this was kind of a surprise film. We went into this because, one, I really like Roald Dahl stories in general. Willy Wonka was one of the first books I ever bought with my own money there. So I have a pretty close connection, emotional, with that story. And I grew up, of course, with both Charlie and Chocolate Factory and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory films, and I enjoy them both equally, honestly. So when they said they were going to do a prequel to Willy Wonka starring Timothée Chalamet, I was a little bit... I really don't like when we do a prequel to a well-known character. Looking at you, Maleficent, and pretty much all those Disney films, the 101 Dalmatians one, all those where it's like, let's take this character, but let's show the before they became said character. However, it was directed by Paul King, who is best known for the not Teddy Ruxpin, Paddington Bear films, which I really enjoy. And I was like, and when the set shots started showing up, and especially Timothée Chalamet in his Willy Wonka get up, I was like, okay, so they are putting thought into this. Why he's dressed up as Gonzo from Muppet Christmas Carol, I will never know, but I'll check it out. If anything, I'll be able to make fun of it later on. And then from the first dang song, it blows you out of the water, and I'm loving it. I'm tapping my feet the entire time through. Whoever's doing the music for this, Disney, please, for the love of God, hire him or her and Paul King to make a damn Muppet film, because this felt like so much like a Muppet film, from both the look and the type of music there, and the beats and everything, the comedy style. It felt so much like you take out Timothy Chalamet and put in Kermit the Frog, and it would not change a damn thing. There, I'm just saying, I loved it. But it definitely felt like Muppety type of thing. So yeah, all of these songs, as soon as the song album showed up to stream, I was listening to it constantly, dancing to it. We bought the movie as soon as it came out on DVD, watched it. I've shown family members. They've also enjoyed it. It is just, and what was one of the greatest things was, so they do a reprise of A World of Your Own during the credits there, and the theater we were going to at the time, this was like the last movie of the night because we watched it pretty late there, but we sit in the back usually just because it's easier to just get out and not deal with crowds. But as it's playing on the credits, I'm hearing, and we turn around, and it's like all the staff from all these teenagers and people in their 20s are like dancing and singing to it. And I was, as I walked by, I walked in, I was like, y'all do a great job. And they're just like, oh yeah, we love watching this film. I was like, this is going to become a classic. This is, 10, 20 years down the road, this is going to be up there of movies we're going to talk about for years to come. I know there's a sequel in the works, so there's still a big time gap between when this movie ends and when Charlie and the Chocolate Factory begins. So I'm up for a sequel, as long as they get the director, writer, and songwriter back for this. I'm okay with that. What were your thoughts?
I went into this with absolutely zero expectations. I was going to see it because you wanted to see it, and I left absolutely charmed. I mean, the moment that I actually started really enjoying the movie is when Carson from Downton Abbey shows up.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm a huge Downton Abbey fan, and once again, he is kind of playing a lovable grandpa character.
A bit more on the sweeter side this time.
Yeah, he's sweeter.
He's not as prudish.
But the music is great, the acting is great. This is like the one Timothy Chalamet performance that I genuinely enjoy.
Oh yeah.
This is the only one of his movies that I watch for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I am including the Dune movies in that because we have seen both of them that have come out so far, and he's not why I watched them. Let's be honest, it's Zendaya.
Fair enough.
But he is why I watch this. It's a great performance. And this is actually, just on vibes alone, has kind of accidentally become a holiday season movie for us.
Oh, yeah.
Because on just the vibes of it alone just feels like getting ready for Christmas. So we usually watch it in early November when we're watching some of our other official Christmas movies.
As I said, he's dressed up as for half the movie. Sorry, hang on. As I said, he's dressed up for half the movie as Gonzo from Muppet Christmas Carol. Had them all.
But it feels like that. The kind of the warm hug of a holiday feeling. It does feel cold, but it also feels warm.
If this had come out about 10, 15 years ago, this would definitely been one of the movies that would have played on the countdown to the 25 Days of Christmas.
Yes, this would have been.
This would have been in the 25 Days of Christmas, but this would have been the week following up to that.
Yes.
To get you in the mood and mindset of ABC Family's going to be running all these holiday and holiday themed movies, and it would have been it would have been a full 3-day, or not 3-day, 3-movie deal where it would show the original Charlie and Chocolate Factory. No, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Then Charlie and Chocolate Factory, and then would end on this They're all while advertising
The
Christmas.
25 Days of Christmas. Yeah, I totally have seen that playing out. And we do, like, every year watch, like, 50 Christmas movies in the lead up to Christmas. Because we love Christmas and we love holiday movies.
Mm-hmm.
And this, like, as soon as it came out, really... Because it also came out around holidays.
It did.
So, like, the timing of it coming out, and then on top of that, just being like... We did watch it in the middle of the year when we got it on DVD, but then we turned around and we rewatched it again in November when we started getting ready for the holiday season. And we've watched it like early November every year since.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, especially if you have kids, especially if you have kids who like are really into like really cutesy musicals, definitely watch this with them. I think they'd really enjoy it.
And now for our final film to talk about is 2019's Yesterday, starring Ed Sheeran, for one, and Himesh Patel and Lily James. As Himesh plays as this character called Jack. And what happens is, one night, all the power in the entire world goes out, and he happens to get hit by a bus. When he wakes up, a little bit after he wakes up and he gets back on his feet, he is gifted a guitar and he plays the song Yesterday. And everybody assumes that he made it because all of a sudden the Beatles never existed. And because he is a big fan of the Beatles and remembers almost all of Beatles' songs, he is able to become super famous super fast because he is recreating Yellow Submarine and Hey Jude and all these other well-known songs because they never existed. And because of that, other things never existed. Like Oasis never existed, Coke never existed, cigarettes never exist. It's a weird thing. They never explain it.
The implication is whatever is the most popular thing in any given category never existed.
Harry Potter never existed, but I think we're all okay with that one.
Yeah.
Because
even in the movie,
he
looks
looks
up
like,
Harry Potter.
He's like, nah, I'm not going to do that. The people that were the Beatles did exist. They just never met and became the Beatles. So because of that,
John Lennon
is still alive, and he gets to meet them, and they have a really poignant scene together about life and about love and stuff. And there's a whole love story going on between his character and Lily James' character, kind of like they were childhood friends, but because he gets famous and stuff, she has to stay there and be a school teacher. They kind of distance themselves, but it ends happily ever after for both of them and everything there. And yeah, it's just a really, really, just like Wonka,
cute, fun,
it's a
sweet,
cute, fun story. If you like the Beatles, you'll really like this. And it's also a little bit sci-fi-ish because it's a, what if the Beatles never existed kind of story that is a good trope that sci-fi likes to take there. There's really good renditions of some of the songs there. It is funny with because this is taking place in current day, some of the songs and the lyrics don't really make sense anymore, like USSR, because that's not even the thing anymore. And then Jude is not as popular of a name in general, and definitely not even anymore. So unfortunately, they do have to change that song to Dude,
and they make a whole ordeal out of it.
And also, Ed Sheeran is like, it's Ed Sheeran. It is Ed Sheeran playing himself, or kind of a comedic version of himself in the movie, and he's the one that kind of was like, I heard the album, so I'm going to help you produce the rest of the music. So he shows up a good bit in the movie just as himself.
And he's got some of the funniest scenes.
He does.
Like, there is a scene where his phone goes off, and it's his song Shape of You is his own ringtone.
Yeah.
I don't know why that made me chuckle so hard, but it did.
my favorite scene of his is when he just shows up at Jack's door and they're like talking in the kitchen, and his dad comes in because Jack lives with his parents. There, and the dad looks at him and he's just like, "Anybody ever tell you look like Ed Sheeran?" And Ed's like, "Because I am Ed Sheeran." And he's just like,
Sure
"Huh,
you are, buddy.
sure. Get out of the way of the fridge. You're blocking the food." And he's just like, "Oh, yeah, sorry." So yeah. And then there's also like the whole. I love the scene where it's like Ed's like, Ed thinks maybe he's cheating and he's having somebody else write all these songs. So they're just like, we're going to do a contest where I'm going to go into this room, he's going to go into that room, and then in about 10 minutes we're going to come out and play whatever song we think of. So they do that, and Ed Sheeran comes out and does his song, and then Jack's his character Jack comes out and plays the long winding road there, and Ed's like, all right, no, yeah, you win.
Yep,
you
win.
are the best music creator ever born. There, that just eases all doubts, and from there on in, everybody just is like, yep, this is him playing all the music. It does show up eventually that he is not the only one that remembers the Beatles. It's just he is the only one that is musically capable of recreating the music, and it's not something where this goes all to his head. He's
legitimately worried that he's doing the wrong thing.
He's worried that he's doing the wrong thing, and like he's gonna be found out, and like actually the Beatles are still a thing, and for some odd reason just there's a weird like everybody's just is forgetting, but Paul and Ringo are gonna show up and like sue him and like something. And eventually, like, two of these other people are just like, hey, yeah, we don't know what happened either, but as you can tell, neither one of us can sing or has any music capability, so thank you for bringing the Beatles songs back into the world so that we can enjoy them, and everybody else can enjoy them technically for the first time.
And then they all get excited and start singing Yellow Submarine together.
Yeah.
And they're the ones who help him remember the lyrics to Eleanor Rigby.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the through lines of the whole film, is he has all the other songs written down. He knows them. He's good, but he keeps flubbing on Eleanor Rigby.
To be fair, Eleanor Rigby has got some of the most, like,
intricate
lines and details. Unless you've heard that song hundreds of times, you yourself will get some of the lines mixed up.
And for me, the cutest scene is right at the very end.
Where he sings Wonderwall?
No, when he does Obladi.
Oh, yes. Okay. Very end. Very end.
Very, very end.
Yep.
Because he does decide to give up being an actual musician and goes back to teaching himself. He goes to teaching music in elementary schools. Mm. And the very last scene is him doing Obladi in front of his students, and because he had clearly taught them the song and they're singing along with it. And you're getting to see what his life with Ellie is like now, and they have kids, and it's adorable, and it's so sweet. Yeah.
Bonus round. We saw Hadestown yesterday.
Oh my god!
I'm gonna let Shelby rant.
It was so well done. It's so beautiful. Oh my! And it was the original Broadway cast, and it just and Patrick Page was injured and still did a fantastic job. And the way they incorporated his boot, as someone who has had to wear one of those boots before, they're not comfortable. The way they were able to incorporate that into his costume so he could still, be mobile enough to actively perform, and oh my god.
You were crying about half the movie.
I was crying. I started crying during Wait For Me, not only because the song itself is, at a pivotal point of the show and that just naturally makes me cry, but the way they staged it was so unbelievably well done. Like, the lighting was basically its own character in the show.
So this was a pro shot that is, as the recording of this video I think is on its last day or next to last day. It was only going to be in theaters for 5 days. But with these pro shots, you usually give it a couple months and it will be on DVD, so eventually we will own it. And so I've listened to some of the music and I do enjoy it. And I am aware of some of the actors because I've seen them in other things there. But yeah, the set design and the choreography was fantastic. Of course, the singing is fantastic. But I really just wanted to let Shelby nerd
about
out
Hadestown.
a little bit about her thoughts on the pro shot of Hadestown that was filmed. Did it say it was filmed last year? Or
Yes.
last year
In London.
In London. So, and it's got the
original
cast.
Broadway cast. And there were so, like, I can't even pick a full-on favorite moment because there were so many, like, small details that you wouldn't get just from watching it on stage that you get from watching it on a pro shot because they're able to do, like, close-ups and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that comes to mind is right at the end when Andre de Shields is walking up to Reeve Carney's Orpheus after he has collapsed to the ground after watching Eurydice sink back into the underworld. And they don't focus on Andre de Shields whole as a person. They're just focusing on his feet. And then as he gets closer, then they widen the camera angle, and then you can see Andre de Shields in the foreground, just standing there, looking down at Orpheus, basically with just like this apologetic look on his face, like, I'm sorry you had to relive that, because as they keep reiterating to you, is that it is an old song that is played over and over. He keeps having to retell the story of Orpheus and Eurydice, and he keeps hoping it will turn out different every time, knowing that it never will. So every time when Eurydice fades back into the underworld because Orpheus could not resist turning around to see if she was behind him right as he made it out, not realizing that she hadn't made it out yet herself. She was right behind him, but she hadn't crossed the threshold yet. And just knowing that he would have to then tell the story again. And he'd have to see this devastation again. And you get to see it, because when you have the show open, and he's like enthusiastically going into, it's an old song, it's an old song. And then at the end it changes from it's an old song to it's a sad song. And it's a lot softer and a lot slower. I'm sobbing. I basically sobbed the entire way through Act 2. But I didn't feel like I was embarrassing myself because the entire theater was sobbing.
And it was a packed theater, too. Like, I had to make sure that she bought these tickets way ahead of time because I knew it was going to sell out. And she pulled up the little screen that you can reserve seats while we were at the theater and showed that pretty much every seat had been sold except for like one seat right beside of us and like one or two seats in the very front row.
Which nobody was going to buy anyway because you couldn't see everything if you're sitting there. But yeah, it wasn't just our showing, because they had 3 showings of the day. When I booked the tickets, there were only 2 showings. So our showing was at 3:30, and then the 7 o'clock showing, both of them were basically completely full. And then the 10 o'clock, the one they added in the 10 o'clock showing, that one still had a decent amount of seats taken for it being a 10 o'clock show. So, yeah, unfortunately, if you've missed it, you've really missed out, because it was so beautifully done.
It'll be out. But as I said, these always come, like just last year, they did the same thing with Merrily We Roll Along. That came out on DVD.
Next to Normal's coming out in a couple of months.
This will come out on DVD, and it advertised, we knew about it beforehand, but it did advertise that Six, the stage concert, would be their next one, and that does come out in August, so...
I'll get to nerd out again.
She will.
I won't be as emotional for 6, but as I was for Hadestown, but I will probably still be losing my mind. But honestly, if you are into theater at all, or you're into musicals at all, and you find out there's a pro shot of really any show coming to town, just do yourself a favor and go see it. It's going to be the most accessible way for you to get to see theater. And even in a lot of states, they don't have like these big theaters, and these touring shows don't come anywhere near you to see them, so it might be your only chance to see it. Take advantage of every chance you can. They don't come around super often. Definitely take the chance to find the joy you can.
Yep. And that'll be it for this video. We will be doing the next video at the end of the month. and it's going to be end of August. So we just finished up musical, so we're going through these genres alphabetically, which means the next genre is romance.
Yeah.
So that'll be a couple months. We are going to take some breaks during like October and November to talk about some more thematic shows and movies there, but then we'll be back at the end of December and continue on from that. So if you enjoyed us talking about these movies and you want to hear our voices more, so make sure to like and subscribe. And if we didn't talk about a movie for the musical portion, it's either because we either equally don't enjoy it, we don't own it yet, or we just haven't seen it. So until next time, thank you and have a good day. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.